People love him already. He's got the Rhode Island twang.
The long pass to Moore and a pin block from Martin.
Tune in to Cam's Corner.
He's going to make it here.
Draws the foul for another Rhode Island and one.
Podcast.
Got his own podcast.
It's good off the backboard and in. On a break.
And we are back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Cam's Corner, Season 4, Episode 13, Episode 113. It's been a minute. It's been about a month, but we're back at perfect timing, too. Rhody Football is having one of their best seasons in a few decades. First playoff bid since 1985. And we got one of the head honchos on defense on the show today. Played in 11 games, 63 tackles, 41 solos, and a pick six. My guy, Rams DB, Fredrick Mallay. Thanks for joining the show, man. One more game before the postseason happens, so a lot of emotions going on right now. How you feeling?
It's really surreal, you know, like you said, the run we got on right now hasn't been done in quite some time at this university. So it's a little surreal, but I can speak for most of the guys when I say we just trying to stay grounded, be where our feet are, and take it one game at a time, one step at a time. Yeah,
I usually start podcasts off asking guests, you know, how they started doing what they love and how that passion really sparked. But I mean, I think it's only fitting for you to start right now with your senior season. I mean, Rhody Football is 9-2, 6-1 in the CAA, 6-0 at Meade Stadium. And for those that don't know, Meade Stadium is the home of Rhody Football. But 3 weeks ago, games on the line, family weekend, you're hosting Monmouth. I mean, your first career touchdown, pick six, you come out of nowhere. A lot of emotions in that game. Again, a lot of emotions in this season in general. But since I wasn't there, I mean, it kind of breaks my heart that I'm not there for one of Rhody's like most historic seasons right now. But just run me through the chain of events in that game to start things off. Obviously the pick six, but just the start to finish in that game.
Yeah. So leading into that game, that whole week, you know, we was going into the number one offense in the CAA at the time. Like Monmouth put up points on everybody. So the main objective, it was a big job for us to, you know, contain them and limit their offense and stuff. So that whole game, that's what we was trying to do. Just take away issues in the past and stuff. So it was going to be a game for the back end to really step up, which we did. You know, we ended up holding them to about like 240 passing, a lot of PBUs. You know, it was a big day for the back end, but like towards the end of the game, they had tried to do hook and ladder, pitch reverse type of deal and score on like the last play of the game, and they was pitching it. I was just lurking, trying to make sure nobody got a lane so they could run to the end zone and stuff. And the ball just found me, and I grabbed it, ran to the end zone, did a little dance with my team. The team ran on the field. It was a great time because a lot of our families was in the stands, and we knew this was a big game, a big testing game for us defensively, but overall as a team as well. So it was just a great moment for everybody.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll get into your high school days, obviously playing running back too, playing both sides of the ball. But did you get some of that reminiscence from back in high school when you were back in the end zone as a running back?
Definitely. It was surreal. It almost felt fake.
Yeah.
I see everybody running up to me like I just scored, and I was like, oh, damn, I really did just score.
Yeah. Did it give you any like flashbacks of certain games? Like obviously we'll talk about a big game that you had at the end of your senior year, but any flashbacks from high school in certain games, like, you know, we could really make something out of this, because obviously having a lot of success in high school too, and the success Rhody Football is having. Anything like that?
Definitely gave me a flashback to back in 2020, my senior year. It was a playoff game with Burrillville High School. We had went to 3 overtimes, and that team's sole mission that game was to contain me and keep me out of the end zone. And I didn't score until the last play of the game, overtime. And mind you, like it was probably like 46, 47. And I didn't have a single touchdown until the end of the game. And that was the only one I had. But it was just surreal for me because it was the play to put that team away and put us in the state championship. So that's kind of how I felt a few weeks ago, scoring that last touchdown, you know, putting the number one offense away and really solidifying us as a top team in the conference. So definitely that was a major flashback for me.
And then a tough loss after that to Delaware just by a field goal. But before that, after that win, you guys were on a 7-game win streak. So those emotions are probably in all those games. Like, this has been, I keep saying it, but one of the best seasons that Rhodey's had in such a long time. So to be a part of that, and then to have senior day a few weeks ago, run me through your emotions of knowing that this is the last year you're going to be playing college football, and when it really hit you on senior day.
It didn't really hit me until after the game, where my whole family was with me. We taking pictures on the field and stuff. And I'm just looking up at the stands, looking up at the scoreboard, the Ryan Center, the parking lot. Like, I'm just really just taking it all in. Like, this may be my last game at me, and just it was like quick flashback of all the times, crazy practices, times during summer camp, winter workouts, spring ball. It was just all going through my mind, and how much I've felt connected to this team and this program organization, even the university as a whole. Just my time here has been great, and I wouldn't change it for the world,
Yeah, I think that's the true identity of Rhody football, is like just the camaraderie of not only like the people around you, but like your team. I really did feel a part of everything that you guys were doing when I was covering you guys more so my senior year last year, because I was one of like the head digital reporters. So I would be at every home game on the sidelines, in the locker rooms, being able to cover you guys closely. I felt like I was part of the team, just how close I was being in and out of locker rooms and stuff like that. So, last game is going to be a rival game at Bryant, so that's going to be huge. But before getting into like the chemistry aspect of everything, just talk about the plan of attack for the postseason. Obviously, Bryant is going to be a fun game to play in on the road, kind of, but like right down the road at Bryant. So just again, that plan of attack, knowing that there's one more game left.
We taking it full head of steam, where our team is at. We're on a one step at a time, one game at a time type of mindset. So like there's a saying one of our coaches has, pressure is a privilege, and we kind of understand that privilege, and it's nice to have expectations and stuff, but like, this isn't something that happens too commonly in like the history of this football program. So it's kind of easy for us to just focus on the task at hand and not really feed into too much of what the media wants to see, or like how the media depicts us as a team. We know what we got. We know what we bring to the table. So we're just focused on improving the good things and limiting the bad, and just going into every game with full focus, full head of steam, ready to dominate whichever way we can to win the game.
Yeah, ranked 15, 17 right now. I assume that on the midst of that 7-game win streak, that was one of the moments where you probably realized, like, we can make a run for this. I mean, talk about one of those moments. Could be in that midst of those 7 games, but anytime in this season where you really thought to yourself, like, we can make a true push for this postseason.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people kind of called me crazy, but I kind of saw it all happen, like from spring ball towards the summer. I seen like the guys, the coaches were bringing in, how the team just kind of clicked, and knowing that. So not to brag or boast anything, but 2020, the class that came in, my class was URI's #1 recruiting class ever. So really? I knew, like, once we became those guys on the team, it was going to be a different ship sailing around Rhody. So I kind of had this special feeling towards the summer, but definitely with that first game versus Holy Cross, a lot of things didn't go our way. We faced a lot of adversity, which we've been facing all season, but every time we faced adversity in a game, it kind of just, we knew if we just stuck to the plan and stayed together as one, we thought we was going to come out with a dub, and we just kept doing it. And it became a trend that everybody started to buy into and really believe in. So that's where our heads was at, and that's where my head's been at since before this season. But it feels good, like trusting and believing in it and seeing it unfold during the season as well.
Yeah, I wasn't at Rhody. I was only at Rhode Island for two years. So my junior and senior year, I was at Rhode Island College from freshman to sophomore year. When I came on the scene junior year, I said the same exact thing. I'm like, this team, junior and senior year when I was there, like this team has the capability. They have the guys, they have the talent to get to that point. So now that it's really coming to fruition, it's pretty surreal to see. And I'm glad you get to be a part of it. I'm glad you're a focal point to it too. Do you have a moment this year outside of like that wow moment where you guys could really make a push where again, more so on that topic of like fighting through adversity, like tight games where you were down? Because again, not being able to be at all those home games does suck, and I wish I was there. But a lot of close contests this game. There was an overtime game this year as well, so something where that aspect of fighting through adversity really kicks in to get to that next step.
Definitely. You kind of just mentioned it too. The one overtime game we had down in Hampton, we so for me, I had just gotten surgery on my hand that week, and I wasn't projected to play by Saturday. But I knew like the team we was going against, like Hampton's a gritty, hard-nosed football team. Like one of our DBs last year, Randy Jordan, he transferred there, and like just knowing that they're bringing in guys like that kind of tells you what kind of team they are, how they like their kind of play style, you know. So I told my coaches straight up, like, yo, I can't sit for this game. This is gonna be like, people may overlook this one, but I know this game is gonna go down to the wire. And surely enough, it did. You know, they gave us a run for our money. Hampton's a good team. Like I said, like athleticism from top to bottom. Team could really just execute, and took us to 2 overtimes, and it was almost surreal how we got out that one, because we were down. I think we were down 2 possession game with like 9 minutes left in the fourth, and our thing on defense, we like to say when we down or it's an adversity moment, we like to we use this Christian reference, and it's like faith of a mustard seed could build a tree. So we've been building trees all year. So that was just another time to plant the seed and keep fighting and keep pushing. And luckily enough, we came out of there with the dub. So that was another moment where I knew, like, yeah, moments like this is going to give us the belief and confidence and trust we need to make that postseason run when we get there.
Yeah, and the trajectory of your success and accolades and the rate that you're playing at has only increased since you got on the scene there at Rhody. And like I mentioned before, I always start off every podcast asking how that passion for football started. So we'll backtrack a little bit. We'll start Mount Pleasant native. Obviously went to Mount Pleasant High School. But before high school, before like the realization of being able to play college football was a thing, talk about like your young days, like growing up, how football really sparked a passion for you, and you know, maybe not even just football, just sports in general, and how that all started for you growing up.
So for me, I was raised in like a single parent household. My mother really kind of made ends meet a lot for me. So my biggest thing was sports. My mom kind of just threw me in sports because she worked all the time and she didn't have too much money to put me in like after school programs or like babysitters here and there. So sports was kind of my way to kill time until she got back home from work. So I dibbled and dabbled in almost every sport, like soccer, football, basketball, track. I was kind of all over the place. And towards me being like a teenager, 11 and 12, 13, like I had hoop dreams. I thought I was going to go to the NBA. And then I kind of found out how tall you needed to be. And that's when my focus kind of shifted to where else can I be dominant at? And luckily my mentor, Peter Quayway, just found me one time at this basketball tournament up in Boston, and just saw like how I had a knack for the ball. Like I was a gritty type of basketball player too. Like I used to get a lot of steals, a lot of hustle plays, a lot of and one layups. So he saw me and he was like, "Do you know like you're a Division I football player?" He told me this at 12 years old, and I laughed in his face. I was like, I thought college was optional. I was like, man, I'm not going to college. I'm going to the pros. Like, this is when I'm thinking the same way you can go from high school to the NBA. I'm thinking you could do that with the NFL, not knowing. And so, like, he kind of took me under his wing, taught me the ropes of the ins and outs of football, like gap schemes and just the IQ of my game kind of really elevated at a young age to where it was clear as day when I used to go against kids my age and I just played at a different speed than everybody else. It kind of seemed like the game was slow for me at a young age. So once I found out like you had to go to college to go to the NFL, I did my research on how much college was, and I knew that my mom didn't have that type of money. But once I found out that schools will give you scholarships or give you a full ride to, if you're good enough to play at that level, that's when kind of like my passion kind of drove me, because I was like, okay, this is my ticket out. This is my way to get free education. This is a way for me to gain exposure. This is my way to help me leave my hometown and build myself as a man so I can gain the tools, resources, whatever I can, and come back and help kids like me who didn't know what they wanted to do with whatever talent they have. You know, luckily my talent was just being athletically gifted. So that's one thing I strive to do when I'm older and when it's all said and done. But that's definitely where that passion came from at a young age, just the drive to be better for me, but also seeing the impact I could have later along the line if I do this right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure that came full circle on Family Day with your mom and everybody there. And yeah, that's pretty surreal to hear. There's a pretty surreal story too. I love hearing those background stories and how things started, because that's where all this stuff really comes. That's why I got you here today. It's because of that moment right there when you were 12 years old. You could have been like a Spud Webb, Muggsy Bogues type of player. You didn't have to give it up. You still could have played on the court. That's my thing. That's why I love doing what I do, is because of basketball. I'm a huge basketball guy. I grew up, I told you, in Johnston, and Dan Mazzulla was my coach growing up for 7 years, and the backbone of why I do what I do. So those high school memories really drive you, and it's kind of surreal to see. And again, playing in your home state is the coolest thing too. And I talk to a lot of URI athletes. It's like a majority of them are from Rhode Island. It's kind of crazy and kind of like out of the ordinary to see some people that are like, oh, I'm from wherever, New York, or I'm from California. And it's like, really, you're all the way back in Little Rhodey. Like, it's kind of crazy. But for like town natives like yourself, it's super cool. And those stories are super cool. So, but back in high school, obviously all state selection in football, played both sides of the ball. Defense was your strong suit, obviously playing that in college now. But we talked about how you played running back and how that interception, that pick six, really brought you back to your running back days in high school at Mount Pleasant. 521 yards on the ground in one game. I mean, that's something that doesn't happen every day. That was the nation's top single game rushing high of the season that time. I don't know if that's still a record now, but I mean, just talk about how do you run for 500 plus yards in one game? How does that happen?
So the team we had played, it was Lincoln High School. And prior to that season, my junior year, they had kept us out of going to the playoffs the year before. So, and they did it in a interesting fashion. My coach would say, you know, like they could have ran the clock out or just like managed the game in the fourth quarter, because it was a close game up until that point. But they went on this, like, I think we were down like a touchdown going into the fourth, and we ended up losing the game by like 4 scores. So my coach kind of had that game circled, you know?
Yeah.
And like I remember like it was yesterday, that whole week leading up to that game, there was a lot of play calls where my number was dialed up. And I just thought that was the game plan because my coach in high school was my mentor that kind of took me under his wing when I was 12 years old. So
Right.
I would follow that man into the heat of battle anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So I was just so trusting in the plan he had for me. So going into that game, I just knew that my number would be called a lot. So just be ready and be ready to make a big play when it presents itself. Luckily that day, they just kept presenting itself. So I was making 2-play 70-yard drives or like a 1-play 80-yard drive. Because it got to the point where I would play kick returner and they wouldn't kick the ball to me. So it's either going out of bounds or they would get it far enough to where it's a touchback. So that first play out the drive, boom, touchdown. So it was that kind of happened a few times. So like when they told me how much I had after the game, I didn't believe nobody. Like I had to wait the next day to see the stats and realize how much I actually put up. And then the news covered it too. I was like, yo, this is real. And it's crazy too. That next week in school, Max Preps had made a post and like tagged me in it, letting me know like that was the nation's high this year. And they don't think this is going to be touched for the rest of the year. And luckily it wasn't. But yeah, that's still the record, single game rushing record in Rhode Island today.
That's insane. I mean, when I saw that number, I was like, oh, that's got to be a season. Oh, no, that's one game. Like 521 yards, that's one game. So, I mean, and we're the same age, so I'm in high school at that time too. And I kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of remember it a little bit. And when I talk with athletes, they always say games like that, like they just see red. Like you said, your coach had that game circled. Games, type of certain games that have more meaning to it, you just see red and you just want to go out and kill like whoever's in front of you. But for me as an athlete, I've only had like maybe like 1 or 2 games like that. Like think like in my head, like mentally, right? So it's now that I'm at a point where I'm at in reporting and anchoring, it's like I want to get to a certain spot. Like I know I'm not an athlete, but I want to get to a certain spot in my career. Like my end goal is the NBA. So when I do things, I kind of take it in the context of that. As an athlete in high school and like every single game that you've played since then, is that kind of like the mentality you take like game in and game out, like no matter who it is?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Definitely competing at this level, you kind of have to, because it gets to once you get to this level of competition, you understand that it's as like brute as it may sound. It's really kill or be killed in like these type of sports, and like someone's gonna have a good play and someone's gonna have a bad play. So like just moments like that in high school kind of molded me into the kind of player I am now. Like it's gonna have to be somebody, like why not me, in terms of winning, or someone's gonna have to lose and I'll be damned if it's me kind of mentality. So just attacking practice, attacking any competitive setting with that mindset, it's hard to lose when you attack it like that.
Yeah, being one of the top performers in Rhode Island at that time and having the idea in your head that college is going to be a reality, picking a school where to go to, probably was a clear-cut decision to go to URI, but why the decision and what other schools were on your radar too?
Definitely my ultimate decision to come here was mainly my family. You know, I couldn't see myself being too far away from my mother and my mentor. I wasn't too big on the recruiting process, but schools that did have interest and offer me was Howard, Bryant, LIU, Toledo, Western Kentucky, Bowling Green, West Virginia. These are all places like it seemed nice, but like all my family is based in Rhode Island. Like I would feel terrible if I was to have a game and my mother couldn't come see me play. Like at that point, it's like to be a top performer is cool and all, but like honestly, the kind of person I am, I'm just so grounded to where I am and the people I care about. Like if I can't share that experience or give them that experience through my talents or my hard work, I feel like it's all for nothing, you know. But not to say it's not good to have for your individual self, but like I just feel like it's more to this game than just, you know, wins and losses or stats and accolades. You know, I feel like a part of me would be missing if I didn't get to share that experience or give that experience to the people who helped me get to that point. You know.
Yeah, and there's always a different feeling of playing where you're from and like making a difference and making an impact. So
Facts.
that's definitely obviously played into your decision. But freshman year, was the whole season canceled, or you guys played a few games that year, right? If I
We
remember right.
played, yeah, we played a few games. We had came in 2020. That season was canceled, and then they tried to revamp the season into like a spring season, 2021. We ended up playing 3 games before uh, the conference kind of just called it off because too many teams was just getting COVID and stuff.
So talk about the first time you were able to get on the field, like officially get on the field as a freshman, and you're when and there was fans in the stands too, because I don't know if there was fans at that point yet, but the first time your mom and your family got to see you play as a Ram.
So the first time was so wait, my first time playing was our first game in 2021. We had went down to Philly and played a number 9 ranked Villanova team. Took them to overtime. I got my first kick at it was on special teams. I ended that game with like I think 3 tackles. It was all on kickoff.
Mm.
Another like surreal moment. I was back there at kick returner, my first kick return college ever. I muffed the ball. Luckily, it was in the end zone. It was a touchback. I was good, but I was just so nervous. I was ready to take off and run. But my first game, my family got to see me play was Delaware a few weeks after that because we had went to Nova and then we went to Albany and then Delaware came to us. We lost that game, unfortunately, but this was another game that was like I got my kick at it on special teams. I had a few tackles there, and I played like I think like 4 drives. Like I think I had like 18 snaps that game, and this was big for me and my family because it's like they didn't know how competitive like college sports actually was. So they came to the game not expecting to see me on the field, you know, and the fact that I got on and I made plays kind of was huge for them. It was huge for me because not too many freshmen at that time was contributing to like our success. Like guys like Wesley Neal, Gabe Solomons, Jamal Mensah, Jig Williams. Who else? I was cutting up that year. I think it was really just us, and these are guys who contribute to our success still today. You know,
Yeah.
So it was big for us, like being that young and contributing to the team then.
Yeah, and we talked about how the trajectory of your game individually has grown. I love to see like year in year out those stats just keep going up and up and up. Everybody that I get to talk to, and for yourself individually, like on a mental aspect of things, how have you seen from that freshman year of things kind of being like a little shaky with games, not knowing like when the next game's going to be, when the season's going to be, and then sophomore year having a full season, like how much of an immediate impact did you see yourself being in the rotation, playing important minutes? Like when did you see that really start to kick in and see the coaching staff really take a true liking to your game and trust you to play in those important minutes too?
Definitely. It was my sophomore year. You know, my DC had brought me in. Like this is like our preseason. how do you expect the season to go for you type of meeting, you know? So I had that with my DC and my head coach. So basic synopsis of those meetings was like, they realized that I had a certain skill set to cover and tackle in space and like just make plays on the ball overall. But my whole thing was learning the defense at this level was shaky for me. That kind of held me back in my development because we have like an NFL style defense where, you know, we rotate shells, we send simulated pressures, run blitzes, all types of things. And it's all conversion. So like we can check out of it the same way like a QB would make a check to a call after seeing a certain look on defense. And my position that I played at the time, I came in as a safety. So the safety makes all the checks in our defense. So that's what kind of led me to, I was like, okay, I'll play wherever gets me on the field first. So that kind of led to me being into a corner and eventually getting that nickel slot corner safety role, which I play now. And I saw that being the vision for me. That just wasn't, at the time, I just couldn't grasp the responsibility of that role for the team at that point, you know, because I'm a realist at the end of the day. There was people who didn't necessarily have my athletic ability or like my knack to get to the football, but did operate the defense better than I could at the time. So that's kind of what held me back from having a more important role my sophomore year. But definitely that role started to increase throughout that sophomore season. I started to learn more. I started to see more football, watch more tape, learning the ins and outs of preparing for your opponent, you know. That's kind of a lot of what my coaches taught me, and it kind of just kept being engraved in me more and more as games went on and evidently as seasons went on. So that was kind of my development process, but it all kicked off for me around sophomore year.
Yeah, you said that game versus Philly or versus Villanova in Philly, the muff punt or the muff kick was kind of like a wake up call for you early on in your career. Is there another moment like that, kind of like a welcome to URI football moment where you're like, all right, this is the real deal. I gotta wake up, I gotta step up and always kind of be alert?
That sophomore year, I gave up my first collegiate touchdown ever. I still remember the kid who caught the ball, like he's my homie to this day. Andre Miller, he was a receiver at Maine. He plays for the Packers right now. I gave up a touchdown. The very next drive, like we going back out on defense, and my head coach looks at me. He's like, "You owe us one. You owe us one." And I'm just in my head like, "Damn, I really gave that up. I really gave that up." But I was just so mad, and like the anger kind of channeled into like my play, and I kind of got into like that see red kill mentality. So the next time I was targeted, I got an interception. Like I wrestled the ball from the receiver. Like it wasn't even like a catch. Like I was in perfect position. He caught the ball, and I really kind of just took it from him. And the whole team got on my back, got on my hat, and it was another surreal moment. It was like, if I really just lock in, look how much I can be an impact to my team. Like things don't have to go bad for them to put me in a headspace so things could go good. You know, I could start off being that playmaker, you know? Yeah. So like that was another moment for me, definitely, where it kind of flipped the switch for me, like what I can really become with the potential that I have.
And looking at this season now, and not only how you guys have performed as a team, but again, like individually for yourself with all the success and the postseason coming up, looking back at last year, how have you seen a jump in your game just like overall, like from junior year to now? What have you improved on, and what have you feel like you've really picked up the pieces from last year?
Last year, I could honestly say I had too much uncertainty with like my role and stuff because I knew what I brung to our defense, but in my head, I didn't feel like I was being utilized how I know I can be, you know. For majority of the year, my junior year, I played field corner. And um I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'll play wherever I need to play to contribute for the team. But like there were conversations where I had with my position coach and defensive coordinator, like, I think I can impact this team more if I was closer to the box or in a position where I can still cover uh, that team's best asset. You know, sometimes that's a slot receiver or that's a running back running routes out the backfield. And that's a part of my game. I know like I can get that job done if need be. But I just felt like I wasn't being utilized for that role my junior season. And it kind of just put me in a stagnant type of mindset. It was like, okay, I'm gonna just control what I can control and stay out here on the outside and make the plays that come to me instead of being in a position where I might be in the box or I might be at safety or I might be at slot where I'm not too far from any play getting away from me. You know, one thing my coach really said this year that I just did a great job of is making plays where I'm supposed to be and making plays where I'm not supposed to be. So just having that natural knack for the football that I have, I feel like it's really being utilized this year. And really, I feel like I'm actually playing to my true play style, really gaining an identity as a slot corner nickel, whereas to last year, I was playing field corner, but I didn't feel like I was living up to my truest potential. And it kind of showed in my game. Like instead of plays where I could have an interception, it would be a PBU just because like I know I'm not as confident out here at field corner. Like, I mean, I'll play it, but you know, my play style, my confidence, you will get the best out of me being in that slot, corner, safety, nickel area, you know?
Yeah, and the stat sheet shows it, but we talked about how the course of a game really plays into effect. Like for me, looking at like at a basketball aspect, like you can have 20 points in a game, but if you're scoring 20 points off of like 40 shots, that's not really like a great game. So when you
Not
look
efficient.
at it, exactly, you got to be efficient. So the stats obviously show it, but the games that we talked about in certain moments and throughout your whole entire roadie career has really came to fruition for sure. Like we were just talking about, but the guys that have been around you, I feel like every story that you've told, any big play or even like the little plays, like little slip ups or whatever it is, there's always guys that are like on you, always supporting you, cheering you up, like that camaraderie and that chemistry that you guys have had, and that I feel like that is like we talked about to start the podcast off is the true identity of roadie football, the chemistry, the guys that are so tight knit. Is what really leads into these big wins, and a big part of that again that 7-game win streak extent this year. So I'm sure there's guys like you mentioned that 2020 recruiting class that you kind of knew before heading into URI. How have you seen you guys like that group grow and the new guys that have came in, the transfers, whoever it is? How does that chemistry really help you guys get over that hump and get to that next step, that next level?
It's just like we're true to who we are. So just speaking on that recruiting class that came in, it was a lot of guys from different walks of life, like Cali, Texas, New York, Maryland, Florida, North Carolina. I feel like that kind of just tied into us getting closer over the years because like there were so many different backgrounds and stories to be told that we kind of I don't know. I can't speak for any other like college team because I wasn't a guy who like transferred to different teams. But like all I know is roadie. So one thing like I can honestly say is the guys that they brought in and prior, the guys they brought in and our class and then the classes after us were just big on being vulnerable, big on being my brother's keeper kind of mentality when it came to anything. When it came to school, like if me and Wes is taking a class and I know Wes just got injured in a game and he might have missed a few classes. Like I'm sending Wes the notes about the classes or sending him like the assignment reminders for the class. Like it don't matter what it is, on and off the field. Like we kind of just look out for each other, and like it shows on the field, like how hard we play. Like it's so much of our team like has seen so much adversity this year on and off the field, and it's like you see how hard we play for each other because of that like camaraderie that's not really always shown on Saturdays or not always shown through a camera. Like just dog days in the summer, like we could have, like even before camp started, we could have had guys usually go home for the summer, like enjoy their summer and stuff. Like this whole team was here 2 months before we needed to report here. And mind you, there's nobody else on campus but football players. So it's like all that time we're spending around each other, building bonds and just getting to know each other made it so much easier to put my body on the line for the next man next to me, because I know he'd do the same for me. Like luckily they brought in my class that was willing to build that foundation and not just build it, but keep it and uphold it throughout the years we've been here. And I'm just glad like it's starting to show in the wins and losses column. But even if we were 2-10, like the bonds I've built here aren't just for a football season, or just for a few years after college. Like the brothers I got on this team, my kids are gonna call them uncles, like and that's just like that was the whole biggest thing for me, just that family aspect and being down to earth to someone you just shared so much, blood, sweat, and tears with. Like we really like been through it all. Like, and I know it seemed far fetched, but it's like when you put it into perspective, 10 months out of the 12-month year, we're around each other, like doing something scripted or something with a time required to be there. Like we already spend so much time together because of like our schedule or our day in the life as a Division I athlete. But taking that extra time to spend away from like football or like weight training or meetings or study sessions, like it just builds so much more. And like I never really notice it until I speak on it or I look back on it. But yeah, these are definitely they definitely brought in the right guys to build a foundation for this program and uphold it throughout the years.
And speaking on your point of how that class, some people were kind of like not from Rhode Island, different walks of life, different areas that you're not familiar with, but everyone is just so tight-knit at the end of the day when your goal is one goal, right? And I remember last year I was talking with Katiro, former receiver for the Rams, Katiro Summers. Great guy on and off the field. We had a video that we did on the field. He ran me through like a training session, like because he did training in the off season. So we were on the field, and before we did that, we walked up and down the field, just kind of talking about his career. And I've had him and Ed Lee, Kasim, all those guys on before. But the one thing that stuck out to me was that he said it doesn't matter where anybody is, kind of like your point that you just made. It doesn't matter where anybody's from. When we're on the field, when we're in the locker rooms, even off the field, it's like everyone feels like we're from Rhode Island. And I think that is the coolest thing in the world. I mean, obviously me and you being from Rhode Island, but people that are from all over, it's like football is what brings, or sports in general, whatever athlete plays, whatever sport, that brings them together. And I thought that was like the coolest thing that I took away from part of that interview. But, and that's definitely shown in fruition to this season, your whole entire career, everything we talked about today. Super, super cool to see where Rhody football has taken not only you, but this entire team, of course, the culture and everything for the program. But to cap things off, Freddie, I want to ask you, I know your plan, your mindset right now is just the postseason, but after college is done, what's your plans after graduate? Or you already graduated, so football is really only your priority right now. But
Yeah,
is the NFL in your mindset? What's the plan after the season's over?
definitely pursuing a professional career in football. Um, I'm really grounded right now, but I'll be lying to you if I told you there's some nights I don't put my head on the pillow and wonder where I'm gonna train for my pro day or who am I gonna talk to help decide an agent for me. Uh, but definitely I think about that stuff, sometimes just at random times of the day. But like my sole focus right now is, our team and how far we can go this year. But definitely plan to pursue a professional career in football after it's all said and done at the collegiate level.
And there's a lot of guys too from Rhody that have made names for themselves in the NFL. A lot from last year, over the years too that we've been there. So a lot of outlets to go to. You mentioned a few in this episode. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I'm excited to see what this postseason brings. Episode 113 of Cam's Corners. It's kind of crazy. I haven't had an episode in about a month, so we're getting back in the swing of things. I'm glad that we could do this episode today, Freddie.
Sure.
I'll link all of Freddie's socials. Go tune into Rhody Football. We've got one more game at Bryant coming up this weekend. Postseason's going to start soon, so tune into Rhody Football. Nothing but the best of luck to you, man. We'll see everybody in the next episode of Cam's Corner. Stay tuned and go Rhody.
Appreciate you, Cam.
Yes, sir.